Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about Kings Island and how fat or fluffy friendly Kings Island is for us plus size guests. And just to give you an idea, I weigh about 290 pounds. I'm 5 foot 6 inches tall, and I carry most of my weight in my stomach area. I do carry some weight in my hips and thighs as well, but I don't have a really big chest area. I'm going to be focusing on just Kings Island, not the Soak City Water Park. And Kings Island is located in Mason, Ohio, near Cincinnati, Ohio. And without further ado, let's get into it and we'll start with the roller coasters. The first coaster I'm going to be focusing on is Diamondback. Diamondback is a super, super great B&M hyper coaster. Really, really great ride. Smooth, awesome layout. Um, Diamondback has the clamshell restraints on for a B&M coaster, and they are going to hit on your thighs. They hit on my thighs, and Diamondback is, for me personally, the tightest ride in the park. It's pretty snug on my thighs to the point of being uncomfortable. But once we start going on Diamondback, start moving, I find that it's a lot more bearable. The restraint is, especially when you're going throughout the ride. It gets looser. It's been said by Kings Island themselves, a couple of employees, that if you can get on this, then you should be able to ride everything else in the park. I'm not sure of the accuracy of that information, though. But if you have successfully been able to get on a B&M with the clamshell restraints, this should be no different. You should be fine. There is no big boy seating, but everybody does have their individual seat. I like to call them kind of like bucket shaped. So maybe they could pose a problem if you have super big hips. But if your problems are in your chest, then you're good to go, or your stomach. The good news about Diamondback, however, is there is a test seat out front. And there's usually a attendant there that can help you, but I'm pretty sure if the light turns green, you can ride. And you do have to get 3 clicks down to ride Diamondback. But if you get in this, if what they say is true, then you should be able to ride everything else in the park with ease. So let's continue on to the next coaster I'm going to be talking about. Banshee, the record-breaking B&M inverted coaster. I love Banshee. Super smooth, super fun ride, inverted coaster. And as everybody knows, with inverted coasters, usually comes an over-the-shoulder restraint. And Banshee is no exception to this rule. The over-the-shoulder restraint is what's called a B&M vest restraint, which is on Thunderbird at Holiday World. If you've ever been to Holiday World, I know that's one coaster for sure that has that type of restraint. This is going to pose a problems if you have a really large stomach, really large chest, especially with the chest. There is a test seat out front to help you ensure that you can get on. It's going to be a seatbelt that comes up to locks into your restraint, plus the restraint itself has to lock as well for you to be able to ride. I feel this one is easier to get on than Diamondback for me personally. But it's just going to depend where you do carry your weight at. But again, try the test seat out front. Hopefully, you can get luckier. And this is going to be more of the more difficult ones in the park for bigger guests. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, especially with a test seat. If you are like me and carry your weight in your stomach, maybe more in your hips and thighs, uh, you should be okay. And if you get on Diamondback with the similar shape as me and get on, then you should be able to fit in Banshee. Let's talk about two coasters now, Flight of Fear and the Backlot Stunt Coaster. They are both made by Premier Rides. They both have some launch elements to them. They have very similar restraint styles. I've actually never rode on the Backlot stunt coaster because my fiance, who is also bigger, he's looking at about 240 pounds, 5'8", weight all in the stomach area. He has told me that the Backlot stunt coaster is tighter than Flight of Fear, but from what I have heard from other people and from what I have observed and just facts, manufacturing, stuff like that, the Backlot stunt coaster in Flight of Fear should have a very, very, very similar restraint style and how you would fit in them. These are probably going to be the two hardest coasters to get in on the park for bigger guests. I didn't want to try the stunt coaster just if I was, in fear that I wasn't going to fit on the stunt coaster. I do fit in Flight of Fear, so maybe I should try it sometime. But the thing of it is, you're going to have a lap bar, which doesn't sound like a big issue. But what the issue is there's going to be a seatbelt that's going to come up and attach to the lap bar from the side, and that is where your issue can run into. Because the seatbelt's only so long and it has to come down so far in order for you to be able to fit in and fit. And these do not have test seats. If you're scared and you're going to skip something, I'd skip these because with Diamondback and Banshee, I'd at least try out the test seat. These don't have a test seat, and I'm telling you, these are, well, Diamondback is pretty hard to get onto as well, but these are going to generally have a lot of issues among bigger guests with them. Now, I know I said that Diamondback is going to be the hardest one in the park to get on, which I do still believe is true, but the problem is I know Premier Rides that makes the stunt coaster and Flight of Fear is notorious for having problems fitting bigger guests. I get on Flight of Fear just fine. I still think Diamondback's tighter. But just be warned that I have seen in various forums online, heard from people, that these are notorious for having issues with bigger people. I think the only reason Diamondback is difficult for a lot of people is just because maybe the type of restraint or the number of clicks it has to come down. And a lot of people do have bigger thighs. This is going to cause a problem in your hips and stomach area, which I think, and it has to connect with the seat belt. You aren't missing too much with the stunt coaster. Flight of Fear is fun, but I do think there's more fun coasters at Kings Island. And that doesn't mean to not try it, but I know it's embarrassing to have to do a walk of shame. At this point in time, you're probably thinking, well, am I going to be able to ride anything? Because most of these rides so far, you've mentioned having a lot of issues with bigger people. And, well, I just wanted to try to get a lot of the negative rides out of the way first. So we move into something a little more positive, and positive, here we go, to the Beast. Kings Island's longest wooden roller coaster. In fact, it's the longest wooden roller coaster in the world. World famous coaster, and for a great reason as well. This is going to be a traditional wooden coaster, has the seat divider in the middle, flat bar, restraint, and seatbelt. The seatbelt's extremely long. The seatbelt will not cause you any issue. The lap bar, I believe it has to come down 3 or 4 clicks. I know they have some weird click numbers here, but I foresee this being really easy for a lot of guests. It is a traditional wooden roller coaster. If you can get on one roller coaster at the park, you should be able to get on every other roller coaster at the park. That is wooden. If you can get on one wooden roller coaster, you should be able to get on every other wooden roller coaster at the park. With that being said, the roomiest wooden roller coaster is going to be their newest wooden roller coaster, Mystic Timbers. Mystic Timbers is Kings Island's newest wooden roller coaster, and in my opinion, roomiest. Again, it's going to have a seatbelt and a lap bar, and this is the rule for any of the seatbelts on the wooden roller coasters. They're all going to be super long, should fit everybody easily in the seatbelt. And again, the lap bar comes down. This one I feel like is the roomiest of all of them, but I don't foresee many people having a problem with any of the wooden roller coasters at Kings Island. And plus, Mystic Timbers, super smooth, super fun ride. Um, if anybody may have a little bit of an issue with the roller coasters, it's going to be because the dividers in between with your big hips. But you should still be able to smush your hips down in there, like I do, and be able to ride just fine. Again, lap bar coming down. If you have a huge stomach, may have an issue, but for most riders, again, the wooden roller coasters, if you're not sure, go for the wooden ones. That's kind of like generally a rule for most theme parks as well. The tightest wooden roller coasters here are going to be the two that open with the park, the Racer and Woodstock Express. They both have, again, a divider in the middle, made by Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters and Trains. I just feel like they're a little tighter than the others, but again, lap bar, seatbelt, perfectly fine. Woodstock Express is a kiddie coaster, like a kid's roller coaster. But the Racer is gonna like be a dueling race type coaster that is a lot of fun to ride. That being said, these coasters may be a little squishy, a little uncomfortable, but they should definitely be a doable ride, doable roller coaster for us bigger people. Let's move on to the two major Vekoma coasters in the park, Firehawk and Invertigo. I'll also talk briefly about the Flying Ace aerial chase in the kiddie area. They're all made by Vekoma, all three of them, but the Flying Ace aerial chase is super uncomfortable. It's just a kiddie coaster. It's gonna be more fun for the kids than us adults. Yeah, don't ride it. It hurts. Um, but the good thing about the Vekoma coasters in the park is I think both Firehawk and Invertigo are super smooth, and they are going to be two of the easiest ones to get on for us bigger people. They both utilize like an over-the-shoulder restraint, both Invertigo and Firehawk. However, this over-the-shoulder restraint is super roomy. I don't foresee any many bigger people having a lot of an issue with either of these two Vekoma coasters. The same goes for the Flying Ace aerial chase in the kiddie section, but trust me, you got so much headbanging going on, it's just an uncomfortable ride. Next up is the Bat, which is an aero suspended coaster. It's kind of hidden in the park, so it might be a little bit difficult to find. It is over by Banshee, but this coaster is a lot of fun. I think it's one of the most underrated coasters at the park, and it does have an over-the-shoulder restraint, but it is super roomy. I don't see any issues for many bigger people at all. Even with bigger chests, not going to have many problems, if any. Adventure Express is an aero mine train. It's going to be roomy. It has a lap bar, and the seats are kind of curved, kind of like a bucket, but the lap bar doesn't have to come down super far. And I believe is the same with the wooden roller coasters. Most everybody should be able to ride it. The last coaster at Kings Island is the Vortex, which is an aerodynamics coaster. It has an over-the-shoulder restraint, but it doesn't have to come down super far, and it's super accommodating for most everybody. And if you can get on the bat, you're going to be able to ride this. And even with bigger chests, I don't foresee many people having a problem with this coaster. Moving on to some non-coaster rides, we'll start out with their drop tower. Uh, I'll start out by saying I hate drop towers, so I've never actually rode the drop tower here. But it was manufactured by Intamin, and it has an over-the-shoulder restraint with a buckle that has to come up. And my fiance, again, his statistics, most of his weight's going to be in his stomach, and he is 5'8", about 240 pounds, and he said this was actually a really tight fit for him. But I've heard of bigger people not having too much of an issue. But just be mindful that this one may cause you some issues, and it is an over-the-shoulder restraint. So if you have a bigger stomach or particularly a bigger chest, this may cause you some issues, and there is no test seat on this one. Next is the Huss Giant Frisbee Delirium. This one does not go upside down, but it does have a test seat out front, so in case you are not sure about fitting, test out the test seat. And It goes about as high as pictured in this picture here. It has an over-the-shoulder restraint with a belt that's going to come up and meet it. Again, bigger chest, possibly bigger stomach, going to have an issue. I do fit on this ride. The attendant does have to help push, but I do fit, and I would say it's not bad. Also, if you have bigger hips, you might have a little bit of trouble smushing in the seat. Um, but again, with a test seat out front, definitely check that out and try to ride this because it is a super fun ride. This is Viking's Fury, which is a swinging pirate ship type ride. Does not go upside down. Just has a lap bar for the whole row, but it is super accommodating and super roomy for just about everyone. Next, let's talk about the Windseeker. An important thing to note about the Windseeker is that there is a weight limit of 300 pounds per car. Now, I'm not 100% sure if there's actually a thing that weighs on each seat or not, but there is a posted weight limit of 300 pounds per car. With that being said, I didn't have any trouble with this ride. I'd say it's a little bit squishy on my thighs. Again, big thighs. But other than that, I didn't have any issues with this ride. The Zephyr, which is the regular swing ride in the park, looks like it'd be pretty accommodating. The only problem is each swing has a weight limit of 250 pounds. So just be mindful of that. This is the hourly spider model type ride they have at Kings Island. Should be accommodating for just about everybody. Me and my fiance can fit in a seat together with no issues. There is like a metal bar that does kind of come into your stomach when they close it. Um, it's not terrible though on the uncomfortable level. One thing I didn't realize, because combined weight of both of us, I think, is right around 550 pounds. The thing I didn't realize is that each car is technically only supposed to have a 400-pound maximum weight limit, but the attendants never said anything, and we were fine, and we didn't realize this until afterwards. So, I'm assuming you'd be fine too, but it does have that posted weight limit. Next up, I want to go ahead and talk about the water rides in the main park. Um, First up, we have the Congo Falls ride, which should be super accommodating for anyone of any size. Should have no issues whatsoever with that ride. And then next up, we have what is called Race for Your Life Charlie Brown. This is actually located in the kids section, Planet Snoopy. However, it is super accommodating. It is like a traditional, like you sit behind each other style log ride. Super accommodating for pretty much anyone as well, but it can be a little tricky to get in and out of. And then lastly, we have the Whitewater Canyon ride, which again, pretty accommodating, but it does have a seatbelt, and the seatbelts actually are for two people, and I advise you, if you're a bigger person, to only use your seatbelt for just you and not the seat beside you, because that's what me and my fiance do. And if you do try to use the seatbelt for the seat next to you, you may not fit. The seatbelt may not go around you and the person next to you. So be mindful of that and do what I do, and leave the seat that shares the seatbelt with me empty, and it just be me that shares the seatbelt with myself only. Okay, the rest of the rides in the main park, such as Shake, Rattle, and Roll, Boo Blasters on Boo Hill, Eiffel Tower, the Scrambler, the Railroad, the Grand Carousel, they're going to be super accommodating for just about anybody that wants to ride these rides. I didn't have an issue on any of them and found them all very, very accommodating. The only thing to note is on the Scrambler, um, apparently there is a weight limit of 510 pounds per seat, and me and my fiance went over that, didn't realize it, and we were, perfectly fine. But just do note that there is a weight limit of 510 pounds. Heading over more into the Planet Snoopy section, I've already talked about Woodstock Express and the Flying Ace Aerial Chase coasters and Planet Snoopy, which I do both think are going to be pretty accommodating for us bigger people. There's another coaster called the Great Pumpkin Coaster, which the only reason I could see a lot of us bigger people riding or wanting to ride is because of we're riding with a kid. I don't have any kids, so unfortunately I've never rode this coaster. You cannot ride unless if you're over 5 foot, unless you have a kid with you. And judging by the look of this, looks like an extremely snug coaster for us bigger people. But I haven't actually tried it. But just be warned, and it's not that thrilling either. It's more, just for the kids. And then next up, we have Surf Dog, which it's going to be like Viking's Fury in the main park. It's going to have a shared lap bar that goes across the row for everybody. It's going to be pretty accommodating for just about everybody as well. And it is over in Planet Snoopy. The following attractions in Planet Snoopy are going to be no-goes, and this is not because of our size. This is going to be because of there's maximum height requirements on some of the rides in Planet Snoopy. Those rides that you're not going to be able to go on include Charlie Brown's Wind Up because of a maximum height of 54 inches, Snoopy versus Red Baron with a maximum of 54, Joe Cool's Dodgem School, a maximum of 54 inches, and the Peanuts 500 and the Peanuts Off-Road Rally with a maximum height for both of those of 54 inches. Linus Beetlebugs is also another one with a maximum height of 54 inches. The character carousel in Planet Snoopy you cannot ride if you're over 60 inches tall unless you're accompanying a child, and you cannot ride on a horse if you're over 60 inches tall on this carousel. You can on the regular carousel in the main park, however. This one you would just have to stand beside your child, which, should have no issue accommodating you. And then we have Sally's Seaplane, which you cannot ride if you're over 60 inches tall unless you're accompanying a child. It's a shared lap bar that goes over each row, and each row does have a maximum weight limit recommended of 440 pounds. And lastly, Snoopy's Junction cannot ride if you're over 60 inches tall unless you are with a child. But this one shouldn't pose any problems getting in for us bigger people. The next ones in Planet Snoopy aren't going to pose a problem with height requirements. The kite eating tree, which is like a mini drop tower, has an over-the-shoulder restraint that does come down and has a buckle. It is really snug. It's going to be really hard for bigger people to get on. I can't ride it. And then we have Linus Launcher, which to me this thing just looks weird. You're going to lay on your stomach, and there's like going to be a cage that comes like on top of you, like kind of to restrain you, and plus there's a maximum weight limit of 275 pounds, and just by the looks of this I can tell I wouldn't fit, and I feel like it's going to be a challenge for a lot of bigger people as well. The next three rides, unfortunately, I'm going to admit I don't know a lot about them. Planet Snoopy is not an area of the park I tend to go to a lot, mainly because, I'd rather have more of a thrilling ride, and I don't have kids. So, but with that being said, Snoopy Space Buggies is the first one here. A maximum weight of 382 pounds per car, and it only accommodates one adult per car, and an individual seatbelt secures each rider across the thighs and pelvis. I don't know about the length or anything about the seatbelt. Judging by the look of it, it looks like it might be a little tight, but if it's an individual seatbelt, hopefully the seatbelt will be a little bit longer. Woodstock gliders. I have rode a similar ride like this in a different park, and it is a shared seat belt, maximum weight 340 pounds per car. I thought the shared seat belt on the other type at the other park was actually really long. So, if it's anything like this, I'm sure it'll be really long too. But a bigger concern would be more about the weight limit. And last but not least, we have the Woodstock Whirlybirds. I think the Woodstock Whirlybirds actually look really cute, and I would love to ride it sometime. And it says it does have a maximum weight of 440 pounds per car, and with a shared seat belt. Um, I can't tell you how roomy the cars may be on the inside or anything, um, but I'm hoping they would be pretty roomy. Judging by what I'm seeing on their accessibility guide and their website. Um, it seems like this one would actually should be able to accommodate a lot of people as long as you don't go above that 440-pound weight limit. Um, but again, some of these you're just going to have to try out or just ask at the park just to see if you would fit or not. Soak City Water Park. My purpose of this video was to more focus on the Kings Island theme park, not Soak City Water Park. Um, there's going to be slides that anybody can ride. Some slides have no weight limit on them, and you'll be able to ride them fine. There's a lazy river, wave pools. Um, and some slides do have a posted either combined or single weight requirement, but I think most of them actually do not have a weight requirement. But you can find all that information on their website. Visit kingsisland.com for the Soak City Water Park if you are interested. But again, there's going to be stuff for anybody of any size, big, small, short, tall, in Soak City. Alright, everyone. So I feel like I should have covered everything, every ride at Kings Island. And don't be discouraged by your size. I say if you're planning a trip to Kings Island, still go. Kings Island is going to be more accommodating for bigger people than Cedar Point. But I do believe at Kings Island, there are going to be rides that you can ride. Um, I'm a bigger person. I ride stuff. I still have a great time as a bigger person at Kings Island. There's even going to be coasters bigger people can fit on at Kings Island, which is super great. The Bat, Beast, Racer, um, Vortex, Invertigo, Firehawk, Mystic Timbers, Adventure Express. All of those are pretty well accommodating. You got the train. Um, you have like the Carousel, Eiffel Tower, Boo Blasters, Scrambler, Shake Rattle Roll, lots of rides that us bigger people can ride. And of course, there are a lot of great shows at Kings Island as well. So if you are planning a trip, while Kings Island isn't going to be like a Disney and do super great at accommodating bigger people, they do a decent job. They do a pretty good job, and there's going to be stuff that you can ride. So I know how it is to have a walk of shame. I have done it before, and I just hope this video helps ease some of your fears, gives you more insight into some of the rides and how you may fit into them. And I do thank you so much for watching.